Good afternoon, folks. July 25th. So July 25th, 12:23 p.m. midday review. So we've completed now 1 out of 5 of the swing trading reports that we perform every 5 weeks that we cycle through that represent about 100 equities. Each report normally comes out once a week. It's normally split into 2 reports. Now that'll shift a little bit depending on what the market's doing, but essentially it equates to 5 reports over 5 weeks. What we're doing for earnings is we're processing all of them in lieu of the weekly report this week. It's going to take us at this rate about 10 days to go through all 100 equities. It's just about 12:30. I need to be out of here around 1:10, 1:15, so I'm going to fly through these as soon as possible. The next report that we're going to be referencing is the one from June 20th. That includes and starts with AMBA. So if you're going back to those reports to look at the charting, that's June 20th, AMBA. Some of the happenings today, so oil, I had a decent number of trades. I alerted 7 out of 10 of them or so, about 70% of them. Some of the sniping was faster than I could alert on the machine trading side because that's integrated now. It's just not published until our new models come out. There were about 30 or 40 trades in there. On my side, I think there was 10-ish. So maybe I only alerted about half. But anyway, the multi-month winning streak continues. We did have one alerted trade as a loss on Epic, the oil algorithms feed. That was a technician, that was his first trade. And since he's been doing well, we just haven't released that to the public. And we identify it on the feed if it's one of our technicians that's alerting the trades. So oil's been good. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. There's going to be a review on it tonight. There's also going to be a review on RIOT day trade yesterday. That'll be out tonight. So how I day traded RIOT, the oil trading from today, there'll be a review on. And we're into some new swing trades. So we'll cover those in a second. But anyway, oil's in the structure here, this diamond shape that you see, and it's trading perfectly in Epic's model. I'm going to close out that chart because anybody that's in with us knows what's going on. So that's FX US oil, Epic, the oil algos chart. Actually, you know what? I have to save this because I promised members that I would send this to them. A number of them did message me for a copy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it for our members so that they can see how our machine trading thesis and premise happens. And I'll try and explain that on tonight's video. This is really slow right now. We've got a lot of our algorithms running on all the machines here, so hopefully this speeds up as we go on here. This will just take half a minute. Okay, it looks like we got that saved. So we can move along here. Oil's getting bullish again, but I'd be careful to the upside on this now. Okay, the dollar. So the dollar is back to its main pivot on this structure. We've talked about it a number of times. I won't go into detail to save time. Over the last couple of days, you can look at the videos. But this is the main pivot, so this is decisionary, and you can see how price is pivoting around. Anyway, it's been there for 16 months, this model, and everything that you need to watch for has been on the last couple days videos. Same with the S&P, it hasn't done much, so I'm not going to repeat everything that I said the last couple days. I do have a buy trigger, just as a quick note, over that 282.52 range as a long, and I would trim at 284.94. TORC, T-O-R-C, that one this morning. It did nothing at open except for deflate. We didn't take a trade on it, and I was surprised because the short interest is massive. Okay, on to edit, E-D-I-T. So this is where I'll take a little bit of heat from members. This happens. So I'm in 33.43, so I'm off 11 cents. 1/3 sizing long. I'm fighting for a bounce at the 200 MA in this mid quad. It's an intro bounce, nothing serious. It is a swing, and my resistance is in around 34.86 maybe ish on the model. You'd have to reference the chart from the report. It will be on tonight's report, hopefully, a copy of this. If not, you can always email us if you don't have a copy of it. If you're a newer member and you don't have the old reports, that kind of thing. But I'm looking for a bounce into the 34.86 range. So not a serious trade. I still think it's going to come down and get near the bottom of this channel again, and then I'm going to go long again. But for now, that's my trading plan on edit. Earnings in 18 days, by the way. GTHX, this is funny in a way. Not funny because it's real money. But I entered this morning at 49.63, so I'm off 70 cents on a 1/3 sizing. And keep in mind, my total sizing is never more than 3% of my account sizing. So I don't get stressed at 1/3 at a maximum total of 3% an account. But anyway, the point is, I put out a notice when it got going over, because it got going over the mid quad, the main resistance, got really bullish. So I'm in at 49.63. I set a trim for 50.99. Alerted that trim, and I got to 50.97. So I was off by 2 cents. But it's in a heavy bullish formation that there's very good chance, you know, that as soon as it gets over the resistance again, I'll take another long. I'd be really surprised if this trade doesn't work out. But I'm off right at the moment. But you know, nothing goes in a straight line. And the execution stop, I had done it automated instead of, you know, having my finger on the trigger. If I had been watching and had my finger on the trigger, I would have been out that, you know, that 2 cents, and it would have been a good little intraday trade for 30-some cents, and then I would have re-entered, you know, and played. But that's the nature. 18 days to earnings on G1 Therapeutics, GTHX. ARWR, so I'm in this one from yesterday, long. 17.24, so I'm in a bit of a pullback. I'm off 25 cents at this point. It's over its mid quad, So kind of a, not kind of, this happens around earnings where price is brought to the decision, either to the upside or downside, depending on the trend of the stock. And then as it gets closer to earnings, the bets get laid and then a trend develops. And that's why we do so well around earnings. I don't hold through earnings. Just so you know, if I don't alert a stop, I do set a stop before earnings. I'm not the best user of stops because I know the chart structure, so I can trade out of a 1/3 position like this easily, even if it does dump into Neverland. Because I'm probably going to win on the dump on the washout. Washouts are my number one, well, short of oil, washouts are my number one trade. So no, going into earnings, if you don't see an alert from me that there is a stop on it, there always is, if I hold it. Quite often I don't hold it. It depends on where I am in the trade, how much room and buffer I have. Anyway, that's ARWR, Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals. My resistance is at this quad wall and this Fibonacci horizontal at 1950. Main pivot is 1642 on the trading range. Main support is down at this quad wall and horizontal Fibonacci line at 1284. If you ever look at our Fibonacci lines, this is a quick little trade coaching. If you ever look at our Fibonacci line and they don't make sense, these are not Fibonacci lines based on standard or practical or everyday discipline, because that's not really the discipline. The discipline should be on the whole structure of the instrument, not just on the last move. So what Wall Street does often is they take the shortcut on it. They don't use the whole trading structure, the whole historical trading structure, the natural trading structure of the instrument. They use the most recent trading range and run their fibs on that. That's okay, but it doesn't give you a true, the lights aren't on totally on the battlefield for you. If you have the whole structure like we use on different time frames, your lights are much clearer and you're fighting in a real clear arena against people that are either half dark or fully dark, depending on the indicators that they're using. And I'll reiterate one more time, these trading structures we use on the natural trading structure of the instrument is historical to 60 months back at least. So what you've got is the alpha structure. You got the primary structure that will be referenced most, especially by the liquidity that's in the machines, but also by fairly sophisticated traders. It's data. It's fair. It's not technically big data, but it's, as far as the markets are concerned, and as far as the average trader, institutional or retail or commercial, it's big data. Big data, not technically as in big data, IBM big data, but big data as it would relate to the everyday market. So right now it's over that mid pivot, and that's what I'm banking on, so I'm looking for that upside on ARWR. PSTG, Pure Storage, one of my favorites. Trading 2304, up 1.50% on the day. Earnings in 32 days. It's in the pinch in this quad. You see how it's pinching? And I'm probably going to take a trade here any second for a target of 25.90 into October 1st, with the caveat that if I'm holding in 32 days, I'm going to have a stop on it. I'd sure like to see the top of that algorithmic channel at 29.13 on the same target date. October, well, I guess it's October 1st. You just look at the bottom of the chart here, that gives you the date. So I'm waiting for tomorrow to come, ideally, before I take my entry. But if it gets going here, I might have to take my entry right away. We'll see. I might even wait till Monday. That's a weekly chart. I forgot. It's not a daily. So what am I doing here? Let's just get an alarm set. I'm not going to go too high here. I want to keep a good close eye on it just in case it gets moving. So it's set at 2340. My other alarm will set down at a retrace to the support. I'm going to call it 2264, just a little higher than support. Let's call it 2275, so I'm on top of it. I really want the next move in this. I was hoping for that 20 MA and it didn't quite get there. Sometimes if you get too technical, if you know these structures too well, you know, you look for just a perfect touch. It's like I used to race motocross, and my son raced. I used to race for Yamaha as a amateur wannabe, go to the big leagues. But my son used to race, well, drift professionally, and you know, they would touch that wall, just touch it. Same thing here. Very technical, and sometimes you get too technical, and it plays against you. Okay, so we're going to go to that report I referenced. So the first one, that report is AMBA. Now keep in mind there was a big special report from Amazon AMBA. We had a smoking trade, swing trade that just couldn't, well, it could have been better, but man, it was a good trade. So AMBA down 0.46% today. I'll bring up its model. I was screaming from the rooftops when we traded this one, telling people just don't ignore it, don't ignore it. And man, did that execute fast in accordance to the plan. This time cycle expired, the last one, on the 21st of June, I think. Okay, so it's come off lower than model. This was the trade back in here that we got. Just executed perfect. And then it came off. I missed the downside. I could have got it, and you know, it's when you're busy. Anyway, so it's trading 34. If I did the rest of this, well, here, I'll just show you how to do your modeling on the fly. So you clone this. So once we give you the structure, the hard part's getting the structure. It's just a generation 1 model. Generation 5 models like Epic are much more complicated to maneuver, because there's things that I can't show you in there, because that's the proprietary part of what we do, the black box side of it. But anyway, it's sitting on, you see how it's sitting on the quad wall there? So then you just take it to the next. You go like this. You just clone them. This is something I show my trade coaching students. Every one of them will tell you that it was very valuable. Anyway, if I did the bottoms here, you'd see the rest of the lines fill in and the other side. But the point is, it's on a quad wall. The other point is, there'd be a target here for August 1st for 40 bucks. There'd be another target here for 30.63, and there'd be another target, oh no, sorry, down here at 31.61. But I think your downside's over. I mean, it might come down and see a pop around 36.09. I like it for a long after this. So I'm going to alarm it, even though this model's not built out. I'm going to alarm it around 36.50, well, call it 36.70, just to make sure I'm on top of it. Even 36.75. I think we're going to see a bounce next. And of course, if we don't, I'll just trade it the other direction. So your support's going to sit in around that 36.15 range support. Your resistance is going to sit in around 40.16. If it gets up over 40.16, look for your resistance in around 44. Time cycle ends August 1st. So over the next week, we'll be looking for a trade in it. Earnings isn't for 39 days. If it goes the way it's supposed to go, we're going to see the target up here at 49.40, call it 49.30. So that's what we'll be shooting for. I better alarm the upside just in case. So I'm going to call this 41.40. can see how it's reacting to that quad wall. So this trade's really predictably. The last trade I was in on it was very, very profitable, very public, very profitable, and there was no stress, even in its downturn, other than I should have taken the downside too. I have a harder time taking the downside because it requires you thinking negatively, and I don't like to train my mind to think negatively, but in trading it works, right? That's just a personal issue. COTY is the next one. So this has been kind of a funny stock because it's been in our coverage for about maybe a year. And there's a number of times I could have got some really great trades, and I didn't. I think I got one, if I remember right. But I do remember a number of times sitting there going, dang it, I knew that was going to happen in the trading structure. Why is this not working? COTY, C-O-T-Y. Now we don't have a model for it. Usually once we're trading something fairly aggressively, a model starts to get built out. It'll either be an on-the-fly model or a generation 1, and then we go from there. The equities, very few of them are past a generation 1, but even the generation 1 models work. So COTY's continued its depressive state of affairs into nothing land, I think, is next. There's really not much I can tell you there. Earnings in 27 days. Sure, you could get a double bottom bounce, but boy, I'd be careful. And the short side, how much advantage is there left? I'm not sure. So it's not, considering the number of setups that we have at our disposal, it's not there. FSLR. So FSLR is definitely fired up traded vehicle. You can get some good returns on it if you get on the right side of these moves. We don't have a chart on it, but we do have some charting, or we don't have a model, but we have some charting. So we'll bring that up. It's called First Solar, for those that need to know. So I had this one perfectly set up earlier in the year, missed my execution on it, and I was kicking myself for sure, because the ROI would have been just fantastic. I had a couple members report that they got it. Okay, so I've missed the execution here a number of times because we've known where the resistance is way early. This most recent dump, there's no excuse, I should have got it. It's on the 200 MA now. I mean, yeah, the 200 MA. This is a weekly structure. Stock RSI is up, but all you see, these indicators are they're just not there. That's part of my problem with it. You see how it's bouncing off that 200? So if price gets above the 20 and the 50, so now say price is above the 2, and the 20 breaches the 50. See here, the 20 breached the 50 here, and price was above. That's called a sidewinder. See what happens next? So that's what you're looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to alarm price, so FSLR crossing the 50 MA to stay on top of it. Other than that, I'm not interested in it. The short side, I don't like the short side. I like the long side on this. Your main resistance is going to be an 86.42 if it gets bullish. Earnings are in a day. And away we go. But I'm not looking to the downside on this one. Okay. AAOI. What a trip. So this was one of my nemesis. So if if you have never heard this before, we win a lot percentage-wise. And if you don't believe me, then ask for a tour of our alert feed. AOI was one of those that, the ROI is so big on it, and I've got such a good structure on it that I don't get stressed about it. But you know, some of the members have got very stressed about it. We traded a lot. We don't alert them all because we can't alert all the trades because a lot of them are they're fairly risky and hard to explain. But anyway, it's done well since its bottom. You know, we were right on top of it, up over its 200 MA. Now it just touched its 200 MA again. It's got earnings in 8 days. Now the history on this, when it was dumping, it had a problem because Amazon's orders slowed down on them. The CEO came out, took the brunt of the panic right on the chin with the public. The next earnings, it got going. Right here. Got going right before earnings. And look what it's done since. Now it's come off. You can call it its retrace since earnings, basically. And the 200 MA. If this earnings hits, you're going to see at least 49.37, but my target's 71.48, and the most bullish scenario is in this neighborhood at 92.77. That's not until October 16th. In a dump, it could get nasty, but your first big support is going to be 27.59. It's trading 38.38. I mean 38.83, sorry. It's got 200 MA support. It's got 100 MA support right under, around 35.35. It's got horizontal fib, 32.86. It's got a diagonal quad wall sitting intraday around 33.01. And then it's got major range support around 27.59. Double bottom would bring you in and around just under that at 22.90 area, and I would hit that very hard in expectation for 49.56 mid-October. But I think we're going to do well when these earnings come out, but maybe not. But the leadership and the management, the company, it's smoking good management. Okay, so that's AAOI. I'll bring up the next. Following along on that report, the next one is HIIQ. So you can see around earnings how this is a common theme. So this is the mid quad, right? Main pivot, whatever you want to call it. It's your main trading mid-range for the structure of trade that it's in. Earnings are coming in 11 days. It hit the mid quad up here. Beautiful trade. 35.60. It's trading 31.90 intraday. And it came off and dumped to its other mid quad, right? So this is why you can trade so successfully with these charts. The point is that if it holds that 31.05, it's a long all day long. Its target then on the long side is 35.70 on August 13th and 14th, which is right after earnings. its first downside target, if it dumps, is in the 31.10 range, and then more likely 26.65. Those are all for the same time frame, mid-early August. What date did I give you for August? It'd be around August 10th to 14th. These are big structured charts, so you can't pinpoint an exact date. It's within a day or two or three. So what's the trading plan here? Tomorrow, if this jumps, I'm probably going to go long into earnings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to alarm it. Just a bit to the upside to stay on top of it. It's alarmed at 32.15. It's much easier to trade the other side of earnings, especially when you have a structure like we have on these charts. You can just see clearer than the average bear in the market. On the way into earnings, not as good, but I still trade it. Next on the report, CLG, so we did that one yesterday. A special report on that one too. I would highly encourage you to take a look at. LITE is next. Now, I should have, could have, would have a number of times in this one. So it's one of those, that I want to get. I want to hit good and hard. I'd like to see a big win out of this in Q3 and 4. Remove this big arrow here. Okay, so what do we got? We got MACD cross down. We got stock RSI near the bottom. We got squeeze momentum just starting. We have, see, mid quad again. It's right at mid quad, 53.75, up 1.13% today. High of 53.85, and that's where the mid quad is. Very interesting. Earnings in 16 days. I'd be surprised if it doesn't gap up. See the last time when it got through mid quad, the big gap here? Look at how much fire it got in here, mid quad on the dump. That's where the huge range is. Yeah, that dump, that down trend was way overdone recently. So I'm just going to alarm the upside to stay on top of any move. So I'm alarmed at 54.25. So I can keep my eye on it. So your support is where it bounced, 51.25. Your pivot is 53.85, so support and resistance. It gets up and over. Your first resistance is 56.55, then your 200 MA, then into the $60 range, and your target then would be 65.05, and you've got earnings in 16 days. Love it. Am I going to alarm the downside? Yeah, maybe I should, 5070 is where we're going to place it underneath that support. Wow, am I tired today? Okay. Kurt, just get to work. Software development is no walk in the park. We've been challenged. And thank you very much to the team. By the way, I think Jen and Jeremy are listening. The four of us, well, five of us, I guess now we're doing, well, we often say it's 20. It's a team that 20 would normally do, but we don't, you know, we didn't go to the markets or to seed capital or, you know, any borrowing to do this. CALA, Calathera, I think is how you pronounce it, biosciences, CALA, I call it. Cali. It's on the other side of a time cycle expiry on July 9th-ish. It's July 25th now. Not only do I appreciate the team that's with us, I appreciate the support we've got from clients. We have some amazing clients that have been with us since day one, believe in it, and are right behind us. And I got to tell you, it helps. It's not even, you know, from a financial perspective, maybe not as much because we don't, you know, it's not. It's you know, machine trading. The project that we're in is just massive cash hole, right? But it helps, right? Every dollar helps. But what's really important though is the emotional, you know, like when people support you and they like your stuff and they, you know, email you and they tell you how their lives are changed. Especially lately, you know, that I'm into the trade coaching. And I've said it a number of times. I'm not a great coach. I'm not a great interpersonal person. But man, the results are just unreal. Real life results. Okay. So you can see how it, now this was alerted, I think, I don't know if it was on the feed or it was in the swing trading private server. By the way, a quick note, if you're registered for the September 14th trade coaching event, either in person in Cabarete, Dominican, or you're attending online, there's a rollout of stuff that you're getting between now and then. One thing that we haven't done yet is open the alert feeds to those folks. What happens really quick is we include all of our services to our trainees usually about 30 days in advance of the trade coaching event. And we include that for the people that take it online, live, or in person 30 days in advance. So you can get a good feel for how this works. You don't have to understand it all, but a good feel. And that value, by the way, the monetary value of that far exceeds the cost of the actual training itself. But what that does then is not only do you become aware of what's happening in advance, get a good handle on it so that we can fine tune it, so we can train you to win in it, you know, to play in the battlefield. But what it does is on the other side then, you should be, you know, if you've been a red side trader for a long time and lost, by the time you come out of that trading, there's no reason for you to lose anymore. Okay, so trading 440 down 2.2%, CALA. Just about nailed that target, perfect. This short side I think was alerted in the server. Now of course we're looking for a trade into 1075, so a double. But that's a massive time frame that goes into May 23rd of 2019. You've got earnings when? I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is an upside alert. At 490. A downside alert at 320. You've got support, major support, but 276. So I'm going to go, I'm going to go $3 on 305. Let's call it 305. 306. I don't want to miss it. On a further pullback, I'd long this all day. That'd make it a double bottom also. It hits targets nicely. I've done very well. I don't think I've ever lost on this one. Now keep in mind, whenever I say something like that, I'm working on memory, and after hundreds or thousands of alerts and trades, you know, main resistance, there's a huge pivot at 855. So basically a double, just under a double. There is a Fibonacci resistance at 620. It's trading at 440. Main support 275. You got a quad wall here intraday, but you know it's basically where the main support is. And your target area is up in the 1065. So is this a long for me? For sure. It starts to get bullish on lower time frames. That alarm triggers. I'm in long for a target of in around 1065 May of next year. But I would trade in and out, you know, ebb and flow it. Okay, so that's CALA, C-A-L-A. It's 1:05 in the afternoon. I got to be out of here at 1:10, so I'm going to call that a day. Tomorrow I'm going to try and get through more charts, be ahead of the schedule. If you need the report and you don't have it for some reason that I'm referencing, you're welcome to email us for it. If you need charts, you're welcome to email us. If you need help, you're welcome to email us. What else can I say? I'm just opening up to, if you're lost at all in any way or you need anything from us, make sure you email us. It's a really busy time of year. We're going to go from earnings into that trade coaching event, and then we've got some other institutional events before then. You know, we're busy, so our heads are down. So if you need something, please let us know. Don't miss the updates that we've been sending out lately, the memorandums and that kind of stuff. If you remember, don't miss them because there's important stuff happening, especially with these first generation machine trading models coming out. We are entering a massively new phase between now and, you know, that timing, September 14th, is no accident. That's when we're going to be completely pivoted, you know, with our new overall machine, we'll call it that. Anyway, have a great day. I got to be out of here. I've got a date for some free diving. Hoping to maybe bump into a real shark or two today. That would be kind of cool. And I'm back for futures and reporting tonight. Thanks again. Talk to you later.